an attack on my honesty. I have, crazy Judeo-Christian values. I believe that there is a God. I believe in America. All these things are attacked. But
I'm not going to get on the live chat
to
for the prageru premiere
One of the ways in which I do
because
it
it's
is
getting
to
dark,
read things
and
I don't agree with.
I'm uploading and I'm recording, and we just got a lot going on, so I'm just going to sit here and check out my new setup now. I can actually watch TV and listen to it through the side of the camper right now. Ain't that cool? But anyway, time for a campfire. Shoot.
I wish the left did that.
Now let's see
if oblivious to our arguments.
I'm just totally wondering if
We know all their arguments.
the infrared sensor on the stereo doesn't quite line up, but
We study under them.
yep.
They don't study under us.
I can turn it up and down from out here.
They don't watch us.
Sweet.
Big difference.
I still need to put some speakers out here.
So my guest,
Tripod, for anybody who hasn't seen it. This old shabby old telescope thing.
Now let me tell you.
But it works. You know what I mean? And let's see here.
Amala is actually our newest prageru personality.
I think I got this thing here all set up and ready to just ignite, to light and ignite. But I've got the light
for yourself on the internet.
Yeah, somehow I managed to do that.
Yeah, you really did. So what have you done that made us aware of you?
I started posting my conservative beliefs online, and it sort of took people by surprise. And
I really like that live
blown up
chat
from
stuff.
there, and now here we are.
Here we go.
You and listened. It was obvious.
Let's get this fire started.
It's not even a compliment. You certainly can take it as such, but it's just a fact. You were given a gift. I was too. It's just, by the way, gifts should be humbling, because when you see what you have as a gift, you don't take credit for it. But you can take credit for what you're doing with your gift. But the gift is unearned. You just got it. But you obviously have a gift to be that fluent with ideas and facts at any age, let alone yours. When did you begin?
I started posting online about 4 or 5 months ago, so it's been a very short ride so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just literally decided one day I'm gonna put my thoughts on social media?
It's kind of what I did. Just figured one day I'm just gonna start doing some crazy YouTube videos, and then I ended up just taking it to the extreme.
Now, you were not raised conservative.
No, not at all. Actually, I was raised.
But I love it. All right, there we go.
And what happened?
I think that's a better
So
camera.
my mother.
Can we get it on the first try again?
She's a single mother, and I'm a child of 3. She works on the left. She is an organizer and fundraiser for a leftist organization back where I'm from. And I always grew up with her values in my life, and she taught me sort of the leftist ideology ever since I was a little child, and I stuck with that up until about 1.5 years ago. So now my perspective has changed.
Right, and what caused the change perspective?
I actually started working for the left. I graduated from high school. I was 17 years old, and I got a job as a youth organizer. So I was going around to different middle schools and high schools and teaching people about socialism and all the different campaigns that the left was working on. And that was the biggest thing that challenged my beliefs, was going out and trying to sell that to people. And that woke me up. I realized it was wrong, and I left that organization and went down the
That plastic does not want to light.
That's fascinating, and it makes a lot of sense to me. I've always said that it's the left that made me conservative. I started out not left, I started out liberal, and I have a lot of liberal values to this day. In fact, conservatives are the people who protect liberal values like free speech and racial integration and so on. But I totally get it. In fact, I wrote a column a long time ago, how the left keeps me religious.
Really?
Yeah, they're so anti-religious and so wrong and so harmful that I thought maybe there's really something great about religion. If they they can't stand it.
And that's funny. That's sort of where I'm at right now, because I was raised atheist by my mother through most of my life. And now that I've sort of come to the conservative side and I'm seeing all this, I'm thinking that I need to delve into religion and start to sort of learn about it and see where I actually lie on the spectrum of things.
Yeah, well, that'll be a great journey for you. I promise you, I don't want a yes. I promise you I'm not asking it for a yes. Did prageru play any role in your movement?
Yes. So, when I was working for the organization, I had a lot of questions that sort of challenged the ideology that I was teaching. And I'd gone to my superiors, I had gone to the VP of the organization, and I had tried to have a discussion about it. And of course, it was not well received whatsoever. So I was sort of forced to go out on my own and look for answers. And I found prageru. I found your organization's videos. And that was a big part of my awakening, alongside of a lot of other brilliant conservatives that I found online.
There are a lot of brilliant conservatives, but they are kept out of the public's view deliberately.
Yep.
And that has been true all of my life. One of the best examples, I don't know if you're familiar with him, Tom Sowell.
Yes. I love him.
Well, you should love him. I mean, Tom Sowell is one of the most brilliant economic thinkers of the last
Life really doesn't
generation.
get much better than this, does it?
He's black, and he's conservative. So he's not red.
And you know what? Let's take this up another notch and go to the extreme.
Horrible reality. Anyway, so good. So I'm glad we broached that subject, because that's the way it is. So if I ever get too personal, we'll just move on to other things. But if I may ask, how is your mother reacting to you?
So she's proud of what I'm doing. She's proud that I was able to use my voice to build a really strong platform and sort of the subject of how in it, but she's not proud of the subject matter, and she's not really proud of who I'm working for. So we find our balance when it comes to that.
That's fascinating. I would imagine. Look, it must be painful for her. If my kids were on the left, it would be painful for me. And I still love them, but so I have some sympathy for your mother. So in light of this, just for the record, when you say your mother is left, so were you raised to believe blacks are victims?
Absolutely. When I was a child, I specifically remember going to the grocery store or the movie theater with her, and she would make sort of offhand comments that, sometimes people look at us differently because I'm a white mother and I have a black child, and you're going to get sort of these grimaces and these really hard looks at you, and it's going to be in relation to your color. I just want to warn you that that's going to happen to you. And she would warn me about police encounters and other sort of myths in regards to the black community. And I harbored that for a really long time.
That's how you burn a motor up, imagine.
Victimized no matter what
Out
I
of
did.
curiosity, you go to the movie theater with your mother. Did you get grimaces?
Not that I could notice.
See, that's the thing. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Here, I'll give you, you'll love this example. So, I have stated that in my long life, in America, all in America, I have never encountered, personally, I've never encountered anti-Semitism. And yet we're told there's a lot of anti-Semitism in America. Okay. So, like, sort of, how did I miss that? Or better, how did they miss me? I am not a private individual.
Exactly.
And everybody knows I'm Jewish. So, that's number one. So here's what happened. One day, a long time ago, I'm driving home from synagogue and wearing a yarmulke. And so are my two boys. And my then wife was in the car. And a bunch of young white guys passed our car and started screaming curses at us. F the F word, call my wife the B word, and then I said to my family, wow, I have finally encountered anti-Semitism. So I wouldn't tell you the story if that was the story. So, being who I am, I decided to follow that car. As fast as they went, I went that fast. I don't like to be messed around with. So I followed them. Sure enough, they did the exact same thing to a car filled
There.
with wasps.
More camera content.
And then a car filled with, I don't know, Hispanics. They were just cursing everybody.
There. Can I get any better than that? How about if I pull out the Roland and the recliner?
So I would get black cars all of my career. Dennis, you don't know what it's like to walk in a black man's shoes. I said, look, I don't know what it's like to walk in another white man's shoes. Human beings, unique. I don't know. Of course I don't know. But what do you have in mind? He said, every day I encounter racism. So this is like, I don't mean it as a joke, but I just, it's like a routine. So I would say with...
Yeah, it's like a routine, isn't it?
What was
Man,
the
that's a good way to
racism
put
you
it.
encountered today? And then they say, well, you know, the day's not over. Okay, what about yesterday? You know, I can't recall. Okay, any time in the last week. But they have no example.
That's so ridiculous. And it's funny because it's this sort of, it's self-regulating is what I call it. You teach people that they're victims, and then you don't even have to prove it. They prove it themselves. They just go out and spit it
That's
out.
why you want to see it. That is my point.
Yeah.
My grandfather came from anti-Semitic Eastern Europe. And whenever he was cut off by another car, he would yell, anti-Semite. And I remember thinking, I was like 8 years old, like, Papa, how do you know he cut you off because you're Jewish? Maybe he just cut you off because he cuts people off.
Exactly
Yeah, that's a
right.
good point, guy.
But you don't have to prove it anymore. You can just say it. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. I'm convinced that all the racist hoaxes
Let's do a
are
cardboard.
because there is so little actual racism, they have to invent it.
Oh, absolutely. You hear these stories, and suddenly they're plastered on every single news outlet that you find, and it's because they have to really shove it in people's faces to get them to believe that it's true. Otherwise, they would never encounter it. And that's my perspective on it.
Well, it's a good perspective. I am curious, are you happier as a human having moved away from the left?
Absolutely. And that was sort of the greatest thing that happened for me, is that you get this weight lifted off of you when you realize that the world is not pitted against you. You're not a victim because you're black. You're not a victim because you're a woman. You can create your own success, and the left is just does not want you to believe that fact.
I've said that Charles Groves, black columnist, New York Times, has written very often, not very often, that he tells his kids that whites have it in for them. Guy makes a very good living as a regular columnist for the Times, and he's on MSNBC. And, you know, those kids are truly privileged. And he raises them to believe.
Yep, I ought to get another camera since everything is in widescreen and put it in from a different angle and set up so you watch two angles
Absolutely.
on the widescreen, because you really don't need it super wide, you need it more tall. Sounds like some pretty good ideas for some improving production.
I can go out and create my own success. Nobody's holding me back from that, and it gives you this renewed sense of passion, this renewed sense of fulfillment to go out into the world and actually do good. And people are being robbed of that by their parents, and it's really sad.
Very sad. So I'm going to now pose to you the only riddle I ever made up. This is my invention. What do you call a happy black? A conservative.
Excellent.
It's true.
Excellent.
When I get calls from black listeners all of my life and they sound happy, I know they voted Republican in the last election. And it's been 100. And when they're angry, I know they're a Democrat.
Yes, it just goes hand in hand, because they always have to have some form of enemy. There always has to be some sort of victimization going on, and it seeps into every part of your existence. It's so sad.
Boy,
Really?
I really do got that just...
And I only have affection for
Locked
your mother
down,
who produced you. So let me
Man,
make that
nobody's
clear.
stealing my bike.
And being a single mom is a
lock it up.
challenge, and I give her
Steering
great
all
credit.
every time I
I
park.
want that clear at the outset, in case she's watching. she was.
I doubt it.
Yeah. Is that true? You doubt it?
Oh yeah, she would never.
That is so fascinating. Well, all right, I'll leave that aside. But what I wanted to say, so if you would say, Mom, I'm just not a victim of racism. The vast majority of whites couldn't care less about my color. What would she say?
She would say that I don't fully understand the extent to which it's infiltrated our society. She'll say you'll experience at one point, or they throw out the line that you're experiencing it, you just don't realize that you are. Which, how can you quantify that? How are you...
That's charming.
Yeah, and that's what really makes the victimization seep in really deeply, because even if you're not experiencing it and you don't have any evidence of it, people just tell you you are experiencing it, you just don't know it. How do you
There you go.
fall out of that hole?
You can.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like to, you're right, there is no answer to that. So what will you be doing with prageru?
So I'm going to be the new personality for prageru, which means I'm just going to be sharing content that, teaches conservative beliefs and values, and hopefully reach some minds that are like me, and get them to reevaluate.
Sounds good to me. No, you're very effective. You are gifted. How do your siblings react to you?
So
Are they younger or older?
I have an older brother who is 24, and then I have a younger sister who's 18. And they both lean left, but they're proud that I've been able to come out here and do this and get a job out of it, really.
Yeah, that'll work. That's right, exactly.
That's kind of cool, right?
Right, you could have been a bouncer at a strip joint. Well, that's usually a man's job.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're right. I mean, getting a job, it's very sad. A lot in your generation are struggling because of this disgusting and evil lockdown. I just want to repeat. It's not because of COVID, it's because of the lockdown. See, that's another thing. Isn't that amazing that we agree on that? We didn't discuss this before. But my assumption is that if I meet someone who's not on the left, they understand that the villain has been the lockdown, not the virus.
Oh, absolutely.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. It's interesting, but they'll sell it to you as health, when really it's just a limitation of our freedoms, and
That's right.
that's how we're living right now. Yeah, and I always think about it in regards to the children who are going through this time. And I can't imagine, at one point, not understanding what's going on, and at the same time having all of your freedoms restricted. It's got to be difficult.
When I fly a lot of flying and when I'm on the plane and I see a 2-3-year-old with a mask, this is like child abuse.
Yep.
What 3-year-old has given anybody COVID? Really, anybody in this country? It's a big country.
Yep.
It doesn't happen. I mean, that maybe it happened once, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and we're being conditioned to fall into this new sort of new world order.
Well, it is a new world order.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is a world.
My God, it's been a pleasure to have you. So how often are you going to do your thing?
Every day. That's what I'll be doing all day, every day. Sort of, talking about my passion. So I can be
What if you
happier.
wake up in a crappy mood?
I'm still going to do it. It'll make me a little better.
She passed the test,
We're still going
everybody.
for it.
I love that. Is your roommate now familiar with what you do?
Yes, he is. He's supportive of it, which I was very lucky to find somebody in California that supports the
Well, as it happens, this you should know, there are more Republicans in California than in any other state.
Oh, so that actually surprises me.
I know it does. That's why I mentioned it to you. There are a lot of us. It's just that it's such a gigantic state that we're a small percentage.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of us. I'll never, the last group you think of as Republican or conservative are black. The second to last are Jews. And I spoke at a synagogue in LA about 2 years ago, and folks, it is on the internet. I've never spoken to a more excited audience in all of my life. Thousands of speeches. You should watch it. How would you find it? Dennis Prager, Jewish speech Los Angeles, something like that. Link it. I don't care if you're Jewish, atheist, Buddhist, you will love it. 1,200 conservative Jews showed up. 1,200 in LA. They were bouncing off the wall. This exists. It's also not, it's obviously not a big percentage, but it's not uncommon to find black conservatives as well.
No, it's not. As soon as I sort of made my descent into the conservative world online, I found that it's way more common than I ever would have imagined it was going to be. It's just that the response is so tough to get through that a lot of them are not very vocal about it.
So tell me this, figure out a lot of things in life. I have big mission since I was in high school, understand life. Why would one want to think of oneself as a victim? It is so a depressed way of living life. What is the appeal?
I would really argue that nobody wants to see themselves as a victim, but it's so ingrained in our society that you really can't run from it. But one of the appeals is that you don't have accountability anymore, and that you can blame your failures and your lack of success on other people. So it's sort of this balance that we run through when we live through in life.
You sure you're 20?
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly, that makes so much sense.
It does.
If the victim is not accountable, that's a very, very good point.
Yeah, the black community
Don't
has a lot
blame
of
me,
issues.
I'm persecuted.
Yep. And there's so many issues right now that are so rampant in the black community, and it's so easy to just say, well, they're victimized, and we can blame it on the white capitalists rather than really addressing the issues.
Wow. We're going to take some questions here. You know the format, right? You've seen Fireside Chat.
Yeah.
Great. All right, we begin with a video, a question here.
A fireside chat.
And
How about that?
Here we go.
Yes, my name is Brett Cooper. I'm 19 years old and I'm from Burbank, California. I was wondering what your thoughts were on the fact that the left is okay with and is even celebrating Cardi B's performance at the Grammys while deeming things like Dr. Seuss offensive.
That's pretty outrageous.
It's a healthy question.
Did you see her performance?
I saw excerpts, yes.
Okay.
Now, I'm a libertarian on adult sexuality. Do what you want. I'm okay with it. Obviously, that everybody is consenting. End of issue. But I'm not okay with it on television. I'm not okay with it at the Grammys. To bring the Grammys down to such a level.
Excuse me.
But her question is the key. Look at the sick world of the left. Having these completely sexual performances, just sex performances essentially, with two scantily clad women doing their thing with one another. Which, if it's in a strip joint, pay your money, enjoy yourself. This is not a strip joint. This is the Grammys. I actually have a slightly different variation on her question. She's so right. Why don't you say Dr. Seuss? Yeah, exactly. That's what they go after. But this is fine. It's a sick world. But here's I want to do apples and apples. They strenuously object to cheerleaders at NFL games. Yep. Which is Girl Scouts compared to the Cardi B performance.
No doubt, guy.
Absolutely. Right? Yep, I agree. And you try to wonder what the logic is behind that.
It's not. The logic is just to destroy institutions that are appealing to the middle class. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I haven't heard a valid argument as to why that happens, other than the men play the football and the women are cheerleaders, and that's
Well,
somehow
that's
wrong.
right. That bothers them.
Yeah.
That's exactly. But why did it bother them? The men are watching this performance in the Grammys.
It doesn't bother them. It's somehow empowering. Somehow.
Empowering. Oh, I love that word. Yes. You're empowered. You.
I am.
That's the joke. Because you do not see yourself as a victim.
Yep.
And same with me. That's exactly right.
We're empowered.
We are. That's the ultimate power.
Take the word back, right?
I'm sorry?
Take the word back.
Yeah, takes the word back. You're good. Right, Luke 17, Bountiful, Utah. I'm growing up in a place called Bountiful. Doesn't that beat like the Bronx? You think, what would you rather say? I'm from the Bronx or from Bountiful?
Big celebrations.
By the way, there's something worse than the Bronx. What was it? Yes. There's a place, oh yes, I think there's Intercourse, Pennsylvania.
Intercourse,
I'm from
Pennsylvania.
Intercourse.
Ah.
Bountiful is well, I guess that's the result of Intercourse. All right, we'll continue. Luke 17, Bountiful. Hey, Dennis, thank you for considering my question. You are welcome, Luke. Obrigado. No. Oh, is he? Yeah, he is. Okay. As you most likely know, Will Witt is coming to Utah, and I have been telling some of my friends that they should come with me. I, however, have been mocked and hated by those on the far left. What is the first step to stop the cancel culture? Well, the first thing to know is that's all they do is mock. They smear and they mock. They don't argue. That's a very important thing. It's a lesson for you to know at 17. The moment they actually argue rationally, they have begun their journey from the left. You cannot be on the left and not mock. Any comments on that?
Oh, I 100% agree. I always tell people when I started to research, that was the moment that I started moving the left. And that's all
Oh,
it is.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Right, that you were there.
Yeah.
Well, that's all it is. If I was 17 and my left-wing friend said, hey, well, you know what, there's a guy, a progressive, coming to campus, he's very popular, I would run. I would be so furious, just furious. They're not furious.
Yeah. They don't care to know.
It just occurred to me for the first time.
They don't care to know what your actual beliefs are.
That's right. But not to be intellectually curious is to be dead. What's the first stop the cancel culture? Is don't let them stop you. Don't let them cancel. That's the first step. Anna 14. Is he snoring? And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to relax with us.
Moon's out. We're pressing.
You really catch the snores on the mic.
They do, right? Yeah. I find his snoring so relaxing. It means things are okay.
Like a cat purring.
Yes, but he snores longer than they purr. All right, Anna, 14, Huntington Beach, California. Should people be judged by their past? That is one great, that you at 14 would ask that question is a statement about you. The answer is, of course, we should be judged by our past.
Thank you.
I have a great theory. It's called the moral bank account.
Sure hope you
Everyone has a moral bank account.
Okay.
Good deeds are deposits, bad deeds are withdrawals. And then
Hey, Dad.
Are you in the black or are you in the red? That makes sense. However, if you do sincere penitence, then we...
Exactly. It all depends on where you are relative to your past.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
yes. The left doesn't believe in penitence. You said this at 17. You're now 46. If I did something bad at 17, I'm now 46 and have led an honorable life between 17 and 46, then you judge 17 to 46.
Make some
You don't judge
YouTube
17.
content.
Absolutely.
Watch some Dennis Prager live.
No, isn't it like obvious?
But somehow it's not.
No, I know. Yes.
It's very straightforward.
Again, thinking clearly is also leading to life.
I'm certainly not who I was even 2 years ago.
Oh, no, that's what it's like.
Everybody really does not who I was when I was 17.
And this only lasts for a few minutes. Ooh, right up in the camera. That's not fun. That's got to be
Made a very healthy transition.
But,
Should we just take Jan? Or should not? Oh, if you have questions for me, yeah, but if you don't, it's okay. I mean, I'm happy if you do. Oh, you see, that's right. It puts, like, what's the capital of South
What's that?
Dakota? Whatever you might want to
Oh, yeah.
ask me. So, yes, by the way, you're on the spot. You don't have to have questions.
No, but I do. I've read about you, and I know you started your career very, very young. And one of the big things that you did was reach out to Jewish people who grew up in socialist environments. And I want to know how well you were received on that journey.
Well, I was received very well. My public life started at 21. I was sent by Israel to the Soviet Union, and then Soviet Union, to smuggle in Jewish items to Jews because they were not allowed to use them, just as Christians were not allowed to practice Christianity generally. And I had to smuggle out the names of Jews who wanted to leave, which was somewhat dangerous for them and for me, because if they got the names from my pocket or wherever I hid it, they would be in trouble, and no one could help them because their names wouldn't be known. It was a dramatic 4 weeks. I was sent because I knew Russian and Hebrew, and I'd learned Russian in college and I learned Hebrew from elementary school. And I began lecturing on life in the Soviet Union. There's not many Americans have been there, let alone 4 weeks, let alone in Russian. And that's how I began my public life. So I've been in public. I've had a public life since 21. I was very well received then in Jewish life because that was not a left-right issue.
Sure. And when did you start sort of speaking out about conservative ideology?
Okay, so this is not, nobody would know this except me, but it's an interesting little piece of data. I was very widely booked in Jewish life because I had written at 25 the most widely used introduction to Judaism. It's still in print. And that's a young age to write that book. So I was in demand as a lecturer. Also, all the Jewish mothers wanted to set me up with their daughters, so I was able to side benefit and side motive to invite me. Anyway, so I was, sort of a hero in Jewish life, became the head of a big Jewish institute at 27. But when I left that institute, I went on to radio, and gradually it became known that I was a prominent conservative. And the more American Jews became aware of that, the fewer lectures I got in Jewish life. The more I got in general life, but and I say this only with sadness, that the dismissal of a Jew who's conservative in mainstream Jewish life, like the dismissal of a black who's conservative from mainstream black life, it's identical. It is truly identical. And unbelievably self-destructive.
Yeah, we talk about horrible realities, and it's so interesting that people on all sides of the conservative life experience it. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, it doesn't matter if you're black, there just has to be, even though nothing that you're saying is violent, it's not
that's
hateful.
all great, God bless you. I always ask them, Dennis, really, you mention your name on the left, Dracula.
Yeah.
So I said, could you just tell me, ask these people, what has Dennis Prager ever said that is so awful? What position has he held that is so beyond the pale? And there's no answer. It's just...
There is no answer.
Yeah.
You're only saying things to enlighten people and to make them successful and to make them go.
Well, Jordan Peterson, why? He has helped so many people become better human beings. How could you hate Jordan Peterson?
What they do. Yeah, I experience the same thing. When you tell people that they're not a victim, you're a racist. And you're spouting hate speech.
Well, have you got Uncle John yet?
Oh, all the time.
You do?
All the time. All the time. Yeah. It's the standard response to anything that I say just because it's who
Well, that's what I said to the questioner earlier. You're not debated, you're smeared.
Yep.
This has been true since the beginning of the left with Lenin. His opponents were fascists, and that ended the issue. Stalin specifically. He would use that term. Well, if you have any other things you'd like to bounce off me, that's fine. And if you don't, that's fine too.
Since I'm entering a very similar realm to what you do, what is your advice?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to mind is something that I have been guided by. If you let the compliments go to your head, you will let the insults go to your heart. So don't let the compliments go to your head, and don't let the insults go to your heart.
Okay.
That's a very important piece of advice.
Can't say it better than that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you will get both. You you've already gotten billed.
Yeah.
So, it's like people, this is a very kind of little thing in my life, people will stop me in an airport or a restaurant. Oh, Dennis, I love you. You're very sweet. Anyway, you hear that all the time. Well, actually not. Just Google Dennis Prager a-hole. Scroll the name. You'll get a few 100,000 hits.
I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
It just comes with the territory at this point. It comes with the territory.
People who love you think everybody loves you, and people who hate you think everybody hates you.
Was that
Tend to think the world
freaky sound?
Yep.
It's a funny thing.
I've actually never thought about it that way, but it's very true.
Yes. Well, look, if I don't know more about this than you do, I've really wasted, half a century.
It's not the truth.
Right. So, by the way, I open my life to you to any time you want advice or bounce a thought off. Anything.
I'm gonna need it.
Well, it's to your credit that you know that. We all need it, but especially, there's no way, look, you're so obviously a precocious person, but there's no way you could know the answers to all of these life's questions. And I knew it, by the way, it's funny. When I don't remember the year they gave the vote to 18-year-olds, but I was in college. I remember that. So I was about that age. And I remember I had a girlfriend, and I said to her, why the hell are they giving me the vote? I don't know anything. And I knew more than most of my peers. I read the papers every day.
Yeah.
But I knew I'm going to choose president. I'm 20 years old, and I know.
Yeah.
No, it was, to know that you don't know is as important to know what you do know.
It's absolutely true. And nobody, it seems to be a culture these days to not say, I don't know. And we need to make that more normal.
They don't care about knowing, they care about feeling. Everything is feeling. Well, you're a joy, you're a find, and I think it's a great fit, PragerU and you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's an honor. I've loved everything that you do for a very long time, so I'm just happy to step into the shoes.
We're happy you exist, because you can do a lot of good.
I hope so.
And the country needs it. So
Yes.
that's great. Amala Epinobi.
Got it.
We work to change minds in the best sense, to open minds. That's a better way of putting it, because they're closed in the American educational system, unfortunately. And Amala is just a spectacular example of it. And how many more people like her can we touch? That's up to you, to be honest. Because the more that we have to work with, the more people we can touch. All right, everybody, help us out. And Amala, you're a joy.
It's been a pleasure.
Mine. We'll do it again. Otto, what do you think? That's what Otto thinks. See you next week. Thank you for watching this video. To keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.
Well, you guys, thank you for following along with the show. I guess we're going to call that a video. But one more thing before we go. Where is it? Ding. There it is. Probably looks better in person. And, oops. And we're at e-bike bag. Ooh, we're going to grab accordion. That's it. Good night. And the aftermath. Pretty good. Pretty good. And the aftermath. Pretty good. Pretty good.